It's not unusual to walk through a public space, see a poster, and think, I would love to hang that on my wall. In fact, some people find publicly displayed posters so attractive they've gone to extremes to try to get one. People have attempted to steal posters for the School of Visual Arts off of subway platforms. Whether a poster is a promotion for an art exhibit, a musical group, or the voice of dissent, it's common to see posters tacked on a wall or framed, hanging in homes and offices, alongside paintings, photographs, and fine art prints. Some people have extensive poster collections. No other graphic design format has been so successful in capturing the attention and hearts of museum curators, art critics, social historians, and the public. French artist Henri de Toulouse-Lautrec's adoption of the poster medium encouraged other fine artists' interest in this vehicle for visual communication. The American, Japanese, Chinese, Cuban, Israeli, Russian, and European art and design communities and the governments have embraced the poster. Innumerable visual artists have designed them. A person chooses to hang a poster in his or her room or home for a variety of reasons, from simply liking the imagery to identifying with the subject matter. Yet the association with a poster may be more significant, emblematic perhaps, in choosing a poster as an expression of one's individuality. Milton Glazer's poster of Bob Dylan, shown here, has adorned countless walls and has become an icon. Whether we identify with a rock star or believe in social or political cause or commentary, the poster format is an archetypical vehicle for expression. The purpose of any poster is to communicate a message. To accomplish that, a poster must first grab a person's attention. A poster is seen while someone is on the move, driving, riding, or walking by, so it must be engaging enough to capture a person's attention amid all the other visual clutter. A poster, first and foremost, is a two-dimensional, single-surface format used to inform. By inform, we are displaying information, data, schedules, or some kind of offerings, or to persuade or promote either people, causes, a place, an event, a product, a company, services, a group, or an organization. Produced in multiples and usually widely circulated, posters are often displayed in numerous locations around town and are seen more than once by the public. Ubiquity and multiple viewings reinforce messages for any single viewer. In public spaces, we see posters promoting events like films, plays, concerts, lectures, conferences. Posters featuring attractive models and celebrities endorsing brands are hung in bus shelters and train stations. Theatrical or musical events, public service advertising, sporting events, rallies, protest causes, messages of dissent, politics and politicians, propaganda, wars, museum exhibits, and brand advertising are all subjects for posters. If a poster is not well designed or it's dull, surely it will be ignored when it's surrounded by other visual communication or an interesting environment. An appealing poster design can capture our attention and imagination, and perhaps provoke us like no other graphic design format. When words and visuals are effectively combined, a poster has the potential to communicate and become more than just a fleeting visual statement. It can become an object to return to again and again for contemplation, enjoyment, or provocation. It is fascinating that in this age of moving images and motion graphics, a still form of visual communication, posters, continues to hold our attention. Before posters became a visual communication staple, broadsides were used to communicate ephemeral information. A broadside, or a broadsheet, is a large sheet of paper typically printed on one side. In Europe, after the invention of movable type, broadsides were used to make announcements, publicize news and events, and promote merchandise. Once printers began working in the American colonies around the mid to late 17th century, broadsides played a role in colonial life. Broadsides were relatively inexpensive to produce, and they served their purpose for local advertisers and information seekers. In both Europe and America, there were advances in printing technology by the late 19th century. In France, color lithography was significantly advanced by Charles Seurat, allowing for great color and nuance in poster reproduction. By the 1900s, colorful posters would eclipse broadside as visual communication that could attract viewers. Before the end of the 19th century, printers composed posters primarily with text, sometimes embellishing the poster with decorative yet conventional graphic elements like borders or dingbats. With the development of color lithography, however, and with the upsurge of interest in the spare, strongly patterned, asymmetrical graphic designs found in Japanese prints, artists like Seurat, Toulouse-Lautrec, and Bonnard began to experiment with posters, abandoning type and weaving together hand lettering and evocative images. By the mid-1890s, the popularity of these news posters had become widespread. Exhibitions were held, connoisseurs collected them, and their virtues were actually discussed in books and magazines. Most posters are meant to be hung in public places and seen from a distance. Understanding the context for any graphic design is crucial. Where will it be seen? How will it be viewed? How close will the viewer be? In today's competitive visual landscape, a poster has to catch the attention of passerbys while competing for attention with surrounding posters, outdoor boards, neon signs, and any other visual material. We only need to think of the myriad of posters in the city square near a theater district to realize just how much a poster must do to capture the attention. A sound design concept is the basis for the design of a poster. Sometimes we almost can see the designer thinking, and in these cases the design concept is very clear. To formulate your key messages, ask 1. What will make the average theatergoer, moviegoer, or concertgoer buy a ticket? 2. What makes the poster's attraction, cause, or brand different from the other choices out there? 3. What are you promoting? 4. Why would someone be interested in this social cause, this political view, or whatever? How can you craft the message so the target audience believes what you are conveying? Like all other graphic design, the success of a poster depends on expressing the design concepts through a cooperative combination of type and image, interesting visuals, and considered composition. The very nature of designing for one large graphic surface absolutely invites experimentation. Any visualization should best serve the design concept. Explore techniques to see which ones might work best for your concepts. Try some of the following. Experiment with collage. Experiment with photomontage. If you've studied printmaking, explore something like woodcut or linocut. Maybe etchings, dry point, mezzotint. If you haven't studied printmaking, start with monotypes, which is a one-off technique in which a flat surface is painted with printmaking ink or oil colors, and then the surface is covered with paper, passed through an etching press or pressed by a hand. Or screen printing. Screen printing can be created at home using a porous mesh screen stretched over a wooden frame, a stencil, a squeegee, ink, and a surface like a paper or a t-shirt. Letterpress. Letterpress is a printing method using relief-type printing plates where the image or printed areas are raised above the non-printing areas. There's been a revival of interest in letterpress printing. Woodblock. It originated in China, and woodblock printing is a technique for printing text, images, or patterns on textiles or on paper. You use chisels, and a drawing is carved into a block of wood. For each color printed, a different block is used and the basic form of the drawing on the key block. Mixed media or experimental media. You can experiment by combining different visual art media, like collage with photography with drawings. Try illustrating with unusual media. How about using black coffee to paint on canvas or on paper towels? Create a 3D graph and then deconstruct it, turning it into a different image. Create imagery out of torn paper. Sagmeyer's poster for the Adobe Achievement Awards is an example of experimental visualization. Sagmeister had a wooden floor constructed and then, with a lot of helpers, arranged 2,500 filled coffee cups. This student award poster depicts a designer creating an award-winning work out of paper coffee cups, running on pure caffeine, as many design students do, commented Sagmeister. Working with a modest budget, we called in many favors of friends. We needed a studio with 30-foot ceilings and scaffolding to get a photographer up high enough to shoot the picture, and as it turned out, the photographer was afraid of heights. Let's talk about some basics. A poster can persuade people to see a show, purchase a brand, donate blood, get a mammogram, protest censorship, or buy concert tickets. However, a poster can only persuade it if it attracts someone's attention, if it pulls someone in. Second, it has to be interesting enough to keep a person from turning his or her head in another direction. And finally, the message of most posters call you to action, persuade you to do something. To attract attention, a poster must be visually interesting as well as different from its surroundings. Just like packaging on a market shelf, a poster needs to be differentiated from others competing with it. Since there are many posters promoting films and theatrical events, why should I choose to look at one rather than the other? How you visualize and compose can and should create distinction, a unique look and feel, mood, or emotional level for the subject. Your typeface selection or creation of display type and how you visualize will contribute greatly to distinction. Visual hierarchy is paramount in how well your composition communicates the key messages. You can use type, visuals, color, or all of them to orchestrate visual hierarchy. Guide the viewer as well as establish visual connections among elements. An element like color can do that. Once a focal point ushers the viewer into the composition should further guide the viewer from each point of information to the next. Since a poster is seen from a distance, ensuring all component parts are in concert to form a cohesive entity is vital. When structuring a composition for a poster, you're dealing only with a single surface. You don't have to worry about continuity over several pages like a magazine or a brochure, but you do have to establish a flow and a rhythm across the entire single surface composition. After generating a viable design concept, decide if the composition will be dominated by an image, by type, or by a visual-verbal amalgamation. Make sure that you have a single focal point. One graphic needs to be emphasized over everything else. Are you using that focal point to help viewers enter into the graphic space? Are you organizing your poster design so that people move from point A to point B to point C and so on? How about your directional flow? Are you using your negative space and your graphic elements so that people scan the composition in a particular direction? How you visualize and structure a composition depends on what you want to communicate. George Cherney divided the format into a modular grid, using 8 of the 9 subdivisions to promote a press capable of printing 8 colors plus coding in one pass. In addition to using a modular grid for multiple page formats, you can utilize the structural device for single surfaces. Here, using a trompe-l'oeil effect, the espresso cup pops forward out of the picture plane with playful copy inside the cup. Around the rim of the saucer, the title announcing Louise Fili in Cincinnati defines the picture plane.